Welcome again. My name is Anjali Lalani. I'm the Smith Center Interns and Fellows Program Administrator. Today, we're going to be talking about the Robert F. Smith Internship Program post-organization application for 2023. The background of this program is that it was started, Mr. Smith gave a gift to the museum in 2017 and started this internship program where we provide paid internships to build pathways for currently underrepresented individuals to work in cultural institutions. And we support African-American organizations and projects. So not all of our organizations are dedicated to African-American history and culture by mission, but all of our projects work with African-American history and culture. And it also has a focus on digital projects, preservation, and curation. Our vision for the program is that we offer well-paid internships that serve early professionals as well as organizations working to digitize and preserve African-American history and culture around the country. We want to provide structured professional development for everyone involved, to provide mentorship for the interns beyond their organization. So that's in addition to the substantive mentorship they would receive from their direct supervisor. And of course, we want to increase the networks of everyone participating in our program, from organization staff, supervisors, the interns, and the mentors that participate. Importantly, to start out with is organizational eligibility. So number one is you have to have a project related to African-American history and culture. It has to have a digital focus. So some sample projects which you can now look through our history would consider oral history, digital curation. We get a lot of archives, a lot of digitization. The organization must be able to provide a dedicated workspace and supervisor. This year, we are offering the option for identifying a team of supervisors, and I'll get into that a little bit later about why we're doing that. But still, there must be one point of contact as the primary person responsible for the intern's experience. And they have to have a dedicated workspace in that they're not roaming around the organization. It doesn't have to be an office, but it should be a standard place where they know that they can go and work. It's open to nonprofit organizations in the US and the Caribbean. We have also worked with local governments. It's a little bit more onerous to work with a local government. So if you're interested, it's worth talking to your general counsel or accounting folks just to make sure that the logistics are possible. And then organizations must have at least 2 or more full-time paid staff at their organizations. If, let's say, you're a supervisor, you're the head of an archives in a university, and you are the only person working in the archives, that is acceptable because the university has additional staff. The details for 2023 is that they will continue to be full-time internships for 12 weeks. So that's about 35 to 40 hours a week. They will be in person for the most part. We will offer limited exceptions if an organization is hybrid by default. But in that situation, the organization would be responsible for making sure that the program is accessible to their intern. That might mean providing hotspots or laptops, making sure the intern has a quiet workspace. And again, we're not offering virtual, 100% virtual. It would at least have to be hybrid, but the plan for the standard is for the program to be in person. Interns receive $850 per week as their stipend. We work in contract with organizations, so all of the funding for the whole program will go to the organization directly, and the organization is responsible for distributing those funds to the interns and for conference support as necessary. Housing is not provided as part of our program. There's no additional stipend this year. This year we lumped the entire stipend together, but again, we don't have anything other specific to housing. If your organization does have a means to provide housing, for instance, one of our organizations had dedicated housing that they could connect the intern to, but the intern had to pay for it. We've had other organizations that were able to provide housing at no additional cost. That is always appreciated from the interns, but it is not required and will not impact the evaluation of projects and selection because we don't require it. The eligibility for our program is quite broad for interns, and that's important to know as you develop your projects because the organization cannot dictate which type of intern they want to accept. It has to be open to everybody in eligibility. So thinking about whether or not the project can be scaled to more difficulty, more rigorous work, things that are more basic entry levels, good thing to consider. It's open to undergraduate students who have completed at least one full year at the point that the application, or not the application, that the internship starts. Graduate students at any level, recent graduates, which we define as up to 2 years post-graduation, as well as career changers, which we define as no more than 2 years relevant work experience, working in the field. We have had interns successfully at every single one of these levels, so we know that there is a profile that works at for all of these individuals. Organizations can select 1 or 2 interns per site. We don't want to force anybody to take on more than they can handle. Groups of 2 interns tend to have more satisfaction, but it's much more important to have the capacity to provide a robust experience than it is to pressure yourself to request 2 when that might be more of a stretch. Organizations can participate in the program for a total of 5 years. The first 3 summers would be fully paid, and then the 4th and 5th summers are at reduced level of funding. We do it through renewable contracts. So if you would be selected for this first year, it's not guaranteed. At the end of each summer, we have conversations and look at the evaluations and decide if we want to continue or not. We want this program to, of course, benefit the interns and the supervisors. The key benefits for the interns is, of course, the stipend that's intended to be a living wage stipend. The mentorship program is beyond their supervisory relationship. We work to pair the interns with mentors not at their organization based on a questionnaire that we provide. We offer central seminars in professional development, things that are a little more standard across fields, not necessarily specific hard skills, but things like federal contracting, resume writing, self-care skills. And each summer it's rotating topics depending on what comes through in evaluations and what we're seeing as needs crop up year over year. We also pay for all of our interns to attend the Association of African American Museums annual conference. They do present at that conference. It's always well received, and it's a really excellent benefit for the interns. And that comes with all costs of attendance, membership, registration, travel costs, and meals. We want the hosts to benefit from this program as well, of course. Number one is that you're developing a qualified workforce. So as you do have hiring needs in the future, you have a whole host of qualified Robert F. Smith intern alumni that you know will be able to come into your organization and hit the ground running, that they have the skills, the emotional intelligence to add to your organization, and also to build up the field with incoming potential employees that are currently underrepresented. Your projects will advance. I do like to tell supervisors that having an intern will at times impede your work, but we always see that projects advance, missions are moved forward. The interns can bring a lot to your organizations. We offer some supervisor trainings outside of the specific orientation. We also offer all of our, or actually require that all of our supervisors attend mental health first aid training, which is a separate certified experience. as well as additional trainings as we get requests and see fit. You're able to build your reputation with universities and career centers. We do the recruitment for the program and really focus on the substance of the projects, the investment of the supervisors, the fact that you have to apply to participate and selected through a team of people, selection committee, shows just how much we believe in the program and how much we're confident that the interns will leave with a positive experience. And because we're doing that repeated conversations with universities and career centers, they then can build trust with your organization as you may move forward with other internship programs or even looking for employees. Organizations receive $1,000 per intern to support administration and technology. This does not need to be itemized. We don't need to see where that money goes. Some organizations have used it to support staff conference attendance. Some may need to be able to be buying software licenses or archival materials, archival quality boxes, laptops for the interns. That is to support your effort and administration of this program, because we recognize that it takes resources to host an intern. Nuts and bolts of the application, they're due by 11:59 p.m. on September 15th, 2022. We ask for some basic organizational information, the mission of the organization, where it is, eligibility, and a supervisor bio. So some kind of really basic, it's not too intense. And then there's a project proposal PDF fillable form on our website. This is by far the most important part of the application. I'll get into a little bit more what we're looking for in just a moment. And then you upload the project proposal, the PDF form, to the online portal form. It's pretty basic. The online portal form is where you will enter the basic organizational information, and then you will upload the PDF. And you can see here, it's at https:/tinyurl.com/23rfspost. And of course, that link is on our website, which, because you made it to register for this webinar, I know that you'll be able to find. But of course, email us if you have any trouble at all. As I mentioned, the project quality and substance is by far the most important aspect of the application. Like really, about 85% of the evaluation is on this aspect. We're looking for substantive projects. And the way to think about that is that we want to be providing marketable skills to the intern that are meaningful on a resume and not easily acquired in an academic setting. So thinking about, what would I find impressive and unique or make someone stand apart on an entry-level resume for this position? And that's what we want to be seeing as part of the project work. The projects need to be realistic for the 12-week time frame and the experience level. And this is a really key piece as well that we're looking at very closely. We aim to serve interns with no more than 1 to 2 past relevant work experiences, professional experiences. And for that reason, you really have to understand we're not providing contract labor or people that are going to come in and really know what to do and be familiar with systems, possibly not that familiar with museums or nonprofits at all. You will be getting excellent candidates who are driven and curious and ready to go into this field or ready to learn more about it and put in the effort, but they are not going to be experienced professionals. So understanding that as you develop your projects, and I understand it can be a balance because you're managing who will be coming in with very limited experience while also making sure you're offering substantive work and training. There should be minimal clerical duties included in the project. Think no more than 20% of the time doing things like filing. I know data entry can be a big thing, transcription. Those aren't quite considered clerical duties, but we wouldn't want to see a full internship dedicated to transcription or dedicated to things like data entry and database management. Want to see some variety and making sure that there are other opportunities as well. Please look closely at page 4 of the PDF project for guidelines on our terminology and what we're looking for in that project description. There's also a document on our website that has recommendations and the qualities of high scoring and low scoring applications over the last few years that we've had this program. So look at that carefully. You'll be able to see some of the things that are common pitfalls and some of the things that really help our organization stand apart. The intern application and selection process, of course, is important to understand as you think about your workflow as well. Our museum recruits the interns, processes applications centrally. It's not rolling admissions. And then the organization receives all eligible and complete organizations after the application deadline. The applicants apply and select the organizations they're interested in. They can select more than one. They can choose up to 3 positions that they would like to be considered for, but we don't do the matching based on what we're reading in cover letters. They say where they're interested in being considered. After the deadline, all complete and eligible applications for your site are sent to you by a Dropbox. The host organizations then review the applications and interview candidates. Organizations must interview at least 2 candidates per opening. So that means if you have 2 interns, that would be 4 candidate interviews at a minimum. Then the host organization proposes their intern selections, tune them up, and we take a look, someone on my team takes a look at those applications for that intern, just to make sure again that they're eligible, to make sure they haven't accepted another position, and also to see if we have any questions about their qualifications. What that looks like, if we do have questions, is we will get back in touch with you and say, you know, I don't really see the interest in African American history and culture in this application. Can you tell me what you learned in your interview? And having discussions like that, or this person seems to have a lot of experience already. Where does this fit in their journey? Why wouldn't you consider hiring them or bringing them on as a contractor now? And really looking at that, because we do want to be very intentional about who we're offering this internship to. Once approved, we notify the interns of the awards, and for offsite interns, at the point that we send the acceptance letter, then we connect the intern back to the host organization and they work directly to onboard with the host organization. Legally, the interns that are assigned to offsite organizations are connected to that organization. So let's say the Apollo Theater's intern is a legal intern of the Apollo Theater, not the Smithsonian. Of course, it's a centralized program, but that's important to know. That's why the host organization does the onboarding for paperwork, any background checks that might be required, bringing them into your organization. Our expectations for the program are as follows. One is that organization supervisors meet all of the deadlines, that pay the intern agreed upon amounts. The organization can pay the intern via a method and on a schedule most appropriate for the organization. That's one thing that's wise to check with accounting, or sometimes I know they go through development, grants management folks, although it's not a grant, to see that it's possible, and also to decide how to want to process the intern. Will it be through a pre-tax stipend? Will it be through as a temporary employee or a contractor? Whatever method is most appropriate is up to the organization, as long as the intern receives their full stipend, as well as the organization being in frequent or clear communication with the intern so the intern knows what to expect. When might they expect their first stipend payment, or how will a flow work? All of that stuff needs to be very, very clear with the intern. Organizations must interview at least 2 applicants per opening. must be able to provide consistent mentorship and supervision of the intern. Let's say your organization is hybrid and we want to still offer a fully in-person internship for the intern, then you could have more than one supervisor so that there's always someone with the intern that's familiar with the project and providing training, but it allows for hybrid work for the supervisor. So there are some ways that we can work with that as well. There is a mandatory online supervisor orientation before the internship. And the professional development seminars for the interns are considered paid training. So you have to agree to release the intern for that time and not have them make it up. Organizations have to provide the workspace, supplies, technology to fully participate in the organization. You must ensure an inclusive environment. You must participate in evaluations. Evaluations are run centrally, and it's really just that you have to fill out the evaluations that we give you and work with the intern to get everything finished on time. We do have some media guidelines that are required to follow. Again, they're not onerous, but it just means working with us and using the right terminology. Involve the intern fully in your organization, welcome them as colleagues, not as second-class citizens, and then of course collaborate with us as things change and be in communication. Timeline for the host application is the September 15th deadline. By October 17th, the selection committee will have chosen the organizations for first rounds. That's when you will be contacted. All organizations will be notified of the results, regardless of acceptance. And then starting in about mid-November, we open applications for the internships. And again, that goes centrally. The organization does not have to deal with that flow. And the intern application deadline is February 15th of 2023, not 2022. Just about February 20th, or as early before that as we possibly can, we will send the applications to the organization, and they have until March 21st to review and interview candidates and then propose their selection to us centrally. And then by the end of March, all applicants are notified of their status. So thank you so much for attending. I'm going to stop the recording here, but then we'll open it up for questions.